Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening if you are within East Africa. It's Monday. Monday means we do a question and answer session. This is iTiS Well of Worship Fellowship. iTiS stands for In Truth and in Spirit Well of Worship Fellowship. We are a Christian fellowship, but very non-denominational. We don't subscribe to any denomination or any religion for that matter. And that's why on this call, we actually have people of different faiths and affiliations, but we don't mind. This is a fellowship of those who are on a journey of seeking this God that we believe, the God who created heaven and earth. So yeah, so that's our bias, but of course we welcome everybody. So if you're here and you're a non-believer or a traditionalist, that's okay. We have space for you. We're just going to have a conversation with Dr. Sekagya, Yahaya Hills, who, as I said earlier, is a dentist by training. And he also has a master's in public health from Bugema University. And then he also has a diploma in law, as well as a certificate in project management. Wow, he has some credentials. And he has published various and numerous papers in his field. That's on the one side. On the other side, he's a traditional healer. He's a spiritualist in his own words, and he has been that since 1978. Okay, so we're here today to find out how he reconciles the two worldviews, if you like. On one side, you have science, which believes in empirical evidence and things like that. On the other hand, you have the spiritual world, which doesn't necessarily subscribe to evidence. Doctor, yes, so today we're going to have a discussion with him. It's going to be done like this. He's going to present something shortly. And then after his presentations, we're going to welcome questions and responses to that. Okay. Like I said, this session is recorded and it's going to be uploaded to YouTube. Our YouTube channel is In Truth and in Spirit Well of Worship Fellowship. Okay. So without further ado, Doctor, let me hand over to you to do a short presentation, and then we shall have questions after that. Over to you. Yeah.
You allow me to share my screen?
Yes, yes.
Can share?
I want to share my screen.
Oh, do you need something from me to allow you to do that? Have you tried sharing?
Yes. The host disabled participant screening sharing.
Okay. That's a meeting setting. Can you share your presentation with me and I show it instead? Because if I'm to change the settings, send it to me by email. If I'm to change the settings of the meeting, then all of us would have to leave and come back, which I don't want to happen. So just send it to me by email, and then I'll share on your behalf.
Or if we can present, then we are going to follow, and then after the meeting, we can share it.
No. He wants to show it. He wants to show it on the screen. Unless you guys don't mind. You don't. Yeah. Just send it to me on email, please.
Yes.
Okay, we already have some questions.
Yeah,
maybe in the meantime, you can answer these questions.
Yes, please.
So the first question I have is, in your dual role as a traditional healer and a dentist, have you ever encountered a situation where both spiritual and medical treatment are necessary at the same time? How do you integrate those two approaches without undermining the effectiveness of one or the other?
Yeah.
So in your experience, have you ever had to do both on a patient?
Yes. Okay, yes. And surely I have had cases where I needed to do both. the treatment using Western methods. This happens especially when we talk of illness and disease. Somebody can come up with a disease, an illness first, and then, let me see. I'm loading. I have sent the document now.
Yeah, I'm going to check. Yes, I'm going to check and then I'll show it. You can answer that question in the meantime.
Yeah, because still that stems from my presentation.
Mm.
If I can go to the presentation first.
I hope we are not preempting your presentation.
Sorry about the delay.
I have not seen it in my inbox. Maybe just keep talking, and then once I receive it, I'll display it on the screen. Just keep talking from your side. Eh? You can start your introduction in the interest of time.
Okay. I'm Dr. Sekagya. I would just give a slight background on my training. Yes, I started as a traditional spiritualist in the 1960s when I was about 5-7 years. Then I became to know that I'm a traditional healer in 1987. Then I went to medical school, 1993. After medical school, I went into training in herbal medicine. Then later, training in African spirituality in healthcare. After that training, I went for Masters in Public Health. Then I went for law and then the PhD. But when I was serving on the National Drug Authority as a board member, I really appreciated that traditional medicine was not understood. And we are looking at the integration of traditional medicine with Western medicine. But now as a healer, a spiritualist, and a medical doctor, I found that as very difficult to integrate systems, to integrate practices when the philosophical basis of the practices are different. And in that regard, that's why
Doctor, please confirm that you can see your presentation on the screen. Sorry to interrupt you.
Are you? Yes.
Can see it?
Go to the next, yes.
Okay.
Now, I would like to really stress that point there, where the colonizers had a systematic program to destroy our education system and health system by introducing other systems and training us in those systems. Thereafter, they made us look so educated if we knew their systems. But you find that now, when we go to the definition of traditional medicine acknowledges, WHO acknowledges that some aspects of traditional medicine cannot easily be understood. And that is an element which I would like to address, that some aspects of traditional medicine are not understood. And a traditional healthcare practitioner is one recognized by the community where he stays as competent to provide healthcare. Those two aspects, go to the next slide. I would relate slightly to my training, continue. That one is already done, continue. Now, part of the informal training includes the training from my parents. Come, I show you something, often here and there. There was a lot of great knowledge we got through that informal training, although we get no certificate. Let us continue to the next. Training from indigenous healers, old people, they have the wisdom, they know how to use the plants, they know how to use the medicines, but we at times don't value that medicine, that knowledge. Continue. Some ways of training. I went to that healer for training. I had a vision that I should go to him for training. And I thought the training was to take about 3 months. But when I reached there, he just touched my head. So the African way of passing on the ability to know. We are disregarding that, but that is one of the best ways to learn. Continue. After training, you go into an initiation process. I was initiated into healing. That was done in 2001. Continue. Then, even as a leader, the people to give you the authority to lead them, you are commissioned into it. That's when they were commissioning me into leading them. Continue. That leadership has also gone to global level. That's 2003 when I was being given. Just behind, that's when I was given spiritual leadership in healing, in traditional medicine. And you can see it is witnessed by many people, even from the Red Indians and all that. Continue. When you are now, you go into specialized leadership initiation. That was also witnessed. We can continue. So it's after I got those trainings that I said, no, there is a lot that we need to understand. Continue. So disease can be explained from a medical, biological side. It can also be explained from a spiritual, cultural aspect. Continue. If you are looking from the Western medical system, man is made up of a physiological body and a psychic body. And the physiological body is made up of systems, cells, tissues, up to DNA. Continue. But the African medical understanding of man is made up of, yes, a physical body, which is not only biological, which is the domain of Western medicine, it's also bioenergetic, and it's also biomagnetic. We have the psyche, we have the moral, we have the spirit, and the soul. All those are components of man. Continue. So the spirit has horizontal and vertical relationships, that all those can still be understood. Let us continue because of time. So now, when you come to understanding health, illness, and disease, the Western way of defining health is possibly different from the African way. In this case, I will put the Baganda way of describing good health, obulamu obulungi, illness, and disease. Next. Good health, obulamu obulungi, goes beyond the physical and biological health to include good relationships with one's ancestors. It includes the non-physical health, which has the psychological, behavioral, soul, spirit. Obulamu obulungi also goes ahead to include other aspects that, for example, being able to afford basic health needs is part of good health. Having good social and cultural relations, blessings, fertility, having children is part of good health. There are people who have the money, physical health is good, but actually they're miserable. They don't have children. They claim that health is not good to them. Continue. So illness and disease, they look similar, but according to the traditional systems, they are distinctively different. Disease, the root causes of disease are organisms that can be bacteria, worms, viruses. The root causes could be physiological changes in the body or physical damage. But the root causes for illness are ancestral spirits, cultural issues, witchcraft. Disease primarily affects the body structures, body organs, and their physiological functions. Illness primarily affects the soul, spirit, and the morals. The management approaches for Bulwadde using traditional systems is to give medicines to kill the causing organisms or to do surgery to remove the damaged body parts for disease. But for illness, the management is to remove the causative agent through use of ancestral spirits, rituals and ceremonies, symbols, living and non-living things. Now, when you look at illness here and the disease, the Western system, the medical system I belong to, is not much aware about illness. It is more about diseases. So issues to do with cultural issues, witchcraft, spiritual issues, soul issues, we cannot test them in a laboratory. So you cannot go to a laboratory and we take your blood and we see that you have a relationship problem at home, which could be causing your hypertension. No, we may not do that. What we know is you have hypertension. The root cause, we might fail to know if it has cultural, spiritual, or witchcraft effects, root causes. Continue. So, belief systems, indigenous people believe in the influence of spirits. They believe that spirits have influence in healthcare practices. They believe in natural spirits, which include natural twins, God, mystical ancestral beings, emisangwa. They also believe in ancestral spirits, which in Uganda we call Rubare. Ancestral spirits are further categorized into Rubare Asamirwa, Nirubare Atasamirwa, meaning they are spirits that possess a person and talk, verbalize, and there are those that don't possess a person and talk. Continue. They believe further that the ancestral spirits are further categorized into worker spirits, amayembe, spirits of the dead, emizimu, and the mystical ancestral spirits, emisambwa, emizari, which are further subcategorized into the royal, non-royal, and water-related spirits. As you can see, a sample of the specific spirits at the right side end. Continue. So traditional healers also believe that living and non-living materials have spiritual powers that can be utilized in healing. Living things include animals, birds, and plants. Non-living things include use of regalia, ebya, amulets, and others. Continue. So they also believe that nanomaterials also have spiritual healing powers. Nanomaterials include prayers and words. Prayers can be at a family level, individual level, or communal level. Use of instructive words, incantations, okulamiriza, those can have healing effects. Rituals are utilized in healing. Rhythm in terms of music and movement can also generate healing powers. The ancestral spirits have already been explained. Continue. So now, when you come to this kind of conceptual framework to display the beliefs that are associated, you can see the ancestral spirits in the center. Rubare is composed of the spirits of the dead, the worker spirits, Amayembe, and the mystical ancestral spirits, Emisambwa. Those, as I have already explained, they have the royal, non-royal, and others. So all those aspects of using the materials I have explained that include living and non-living things, including the non-materials such as energies generated out of sacred places found on mountains and forests. They can tap into energies from the moon, sun, stars. The healers undergo training and apprenticeship in how to utilize the fasting, initiations, dreams, praise, visions, and intuitions in order to how to utilize them to tap into the spiritual energies that are used in healing. They can also use that similar aspects in divination, sacrifice, and offering. All those are utilized during ritual cleansing, ritual bath, scarifications, and use of amulets, in addition to herbalism. Continue. So, as we have seen, the root causes of that can be spiritual or cultural for illness and diseases. In this case, disease is secondary to illness. Disease is the manifestation on the physical body, but the root causes for illness could be ancestral, cultural issues, and many others, including witchcraft. And in this case, witchcraft could be out of envy, jealousy, or curses. We can continue. Next. So when you look at the Uganda health systems now, we have the modern and the traditional healthcare system. Now, when you look at the philosophical basis or paradigm for modern medicine, it is well established. For traditional medicine, it's not well established. It's not yet established. The knowledge and technology are well understood for Western medicine. We are using conventional based on logical science. The traditional knowledge and technology are not well understood. They are not conventional. They are based on beliefs, experiences, and practices. The personnel in Western medicine, we are few doctors. We are few professionals. But for traditional personnel, in every village, there is a traditional healer. They are not professional, but when you look at the numbers of people they look for, even WHO acknowledges that more than 60 to 80% of the population in developing countries use traditional medicine for their primary health care. So the medical material or resources. You are aware in Western medicine, the medicines are scarce. They are imported. We depend on foreign aid. We are actually dependent. Western medicine is dependent. Without funding, we cannot sustain the system. But the traditional system, it is plenty, it is indigenous, it is domesticated, it is everywhere in the communities. It has not been funded, it has no legal backup. Religion is against it, educated people are against it, rich people are against traditional medicine, but still it serves plenty of people. So to me, I am arguing that traditional system, if well understood, is the system we deserve to have. Continue. I can skip that, but for example, I can give an example. They can be told that pick this medicine only at night in order to treat ailment A, X, or use the foreign leaves of a plant. All those have a science, as you see them there. Given time, I can explain later, but for the introduction, just see them. If you ask, I will explain. Continue. Continue, I can skip that. So, African shrine. We fear that we have a phobia for shrines. A shrine is a single setting consulted for many reasons by all categories of people, religious people, educated people, rich people, all visit shrines. Continue, next. Yes, a shrine has health aspect, cultural aspect, and the religious aspects. My interest is mainly in the health aspect and how it works. Continue. Continue. Okay, PROMETRA International, that's PROMETRA International. We are in more than 28 countries worldwide. And I am the director of PROMETRA Uganda. That is the Institute Traditional and Dr. Sekagya Institute of Traditional Medicine. Continue. Challenges. African unknown science is quite complex and it is hidden in the shades of the known. We have weaknesses in research methodologies. We have no proper research methods for divination, psychic connections, African medical languages and symbolism, African ancestral communication and sacrifices, diversity and connectivity and complexity of African healing. We don't have proper methodological aspects that fit in the research in those aspects. Continue. Continue. African spirituality. Yes, that's part of the training. People training in the forest school. Continue. We, as healers, you can see me there, we are really looking for opportunities for collaboration. And this collaboration is in understanding the African science. Other than using the Western yardstick as a measure for science, we need to develop African yardstick as a measure for African science. Continue. That was when I took the African Shrine to a conference in Bangkok. You can see the attendance was high. Continue. That is Traditional Medicine Day celebrations I led. Continue. Continue. So we need actually to work together. Traditional medicine is like a pot with holes. It cannot sustain to hold water. Our African medical system was those holes were put in by the colonizers, and we are maintaining those holes. But we need to contribute in our own ways, our own science. We do research such that we can keep blocking those holes. One by one, we shall really put our traditional medicine back to form. Continue. Continue. Those are the whites come for healing in my place. We take them into rituals. Continue. 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 So, traditional science, just the next one before. Traditional science and medicine has sustained us in Africa for a very long time, millions of years. Western medicine is less than 300 years. We would be careless to dismiss it. We would be very careless to dismiss it. Simply dismissing traditional medicine that it does not work, or claiming that we are ignorant on how it works, is not acceptable. I advocate for African traditional healthcare beliefs and practices to be understood in an African context, to be part of our African education, and to be taught in African ways. Continue. Thank you very much for that, for listening to me. And now we can go into the session. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Dr. Sekagya. Those of you who came late, this session is being recorded. So later on, we'll upload it to YouTube. Our channel is iTiS Well of Worship Fellowship, and then you'll be able to get the recording. Okay, if you're curious, every Monday between 6 and 8 p.m., we're always here discussing topics ranging from God, faith, religion, philosophy, critical thought, and you name it. So the link stays the same, the meeting ID stays the same. So if you have time on any given Monday, 6 to 8 p.m. East African time, please feel free to join in. Let me open it up to questions. Thank you, Dr. Sekagya, for your presentation. Those who missed the introduction, Dr. Sekagya is a Western-trained dental surgeon, as well as public health specialist, but also is a traditional spiritualist healer. So we're here just to discuss how he balances these two worldviews, which seem to be contradictory. Yeah, so Peter, your hand is up. Do you want to ask? If you want to ask a question, please raise your hand. If you're in a noisy place, you can type it in the chat. I'll be monitoring that and I'll read it out to the doctor. Peter, please.
Yes, I'll ask both in Luganda and English. I'll begin with English. Doctor, thank you very much. And I would like to begin with definition of key terms, which you did not do, probably because of time. When you talk of the following terms, in the context of this work, what should I understand? Number one, faith. 2, spirituality. 3, healing. And 4, medicine. Faith, spirituality, healing, and medicine. Ogamba ebintu ebyo bye biki wano mbitegeere ntya mu mboozi eno. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I think you'll be answering one question at a
Yes.
time. So doctor, feel free to answer that. Definition of key terms.
faith, let me first put it the other way for me to understand it myself even. Knowledge is what you know and it has facts in it. Belief, there could be doubts about it in belief. Spirituality to me is a universal aspect of the invisible that can be tapped into and packaged differently. Now, when you go into packaging spirituality, you come to religion. To me, religion is the way spirituality is packaged. And that packaging has a cultural basis. Packaging of spirituality, depending on one's culture or a cultural foundation, you package spirituality, you form religion. Now, faith is to the extent to which you believe in that packaging, how you are convinced about that packaging, you are so convinced about it. It's not whether it is true or not, but it's your conviction about it that determines how deeply you are within that faith. That to me becomes the faith aspect. Faith is not about facts. Facts could be preliminary, but it is about how you are convinced about that packaging and you are willing to really defend that packaging. It's not whether it's true or not, but it's about your conviction of it. To me, that's how I would put it. Healing, this is the process that goes in restoring balance. We normally, the body is a balanced body, but when it goes out of balance, it could be at a physical level, a philosophical level, a spiritual level, soul, even behavior. When you are in the process of restoring yourself to that balance, that is healing. That healing can be potentiated by many other factors, including medicine. Medicine can help you to restore that balance. But medicine in this aspect is a substance. Medicine is a substance. But restoring the balance does not necessarily require a substance. It could be a non-material, like a prayer. A word is sorry can restore a balance, even if it is a physiological change. A ritual can restore a balance. So in those aspects, medicine to me is a substance which, among others, can facilitate restoration of balance, which restoration of balance, the process is a healing process, but spirituality has a big element to contribute to healing. Spirituality might not necessarily contribute to a substance, and faith has more with what you feel you have, you are convinced about. That's how I can explain it. Look, myself, that's how I can put it.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. There's another question from Tom here, which is kind of related. He was asking, what is spirituality? Can it be independent of faith and belief? Basically, can spirituality stand on its own? And then does it involve belief in a deity? Where do the powers that are involved come from? And what's the relationship between the human and that power? So basically, spirituality, is it independent of belief and faith? And also, does it require a deity? Which would be the
Now,
source of
spirituality to me is independent of faith and belief. Spirituality exists, whether we know it, whether we believe in it, whether we whatever we do, spirituality exists. And that power exists in space, in material, and in non-material. Traditional healers believe plants have spiritual powers that can be tapped into. Animals have spiritual powers that can be tapped into. The sun, the moon, the stars, all have spiritual powers that can be tapped into if you know what to do. Now, that is irrespective of whether you believe they have them or not. Let me put it in another perspective. Allow me to use the wave
this one?
Wave energies. Yes, wave energies that are tapped into at a certain wavelength to say omukutu ogwo gwa MTN, omukutu guno gwa Airtel. They are tapping into a certain wavelength, localize it, and blend it, and utilize it. That tapping into that wavelength is recent, but it's not that that wavelength is new. It has been in existence millions of years, but our knowledge to tap into it and use it is what is recent. Spirituality is like that. Our ability to tap into it and use it is different from its existence. Spirituality exists. It is there in plants, it is there in space, it is there in all animals and everything. It is there in waters. And so where is it? Is spirituality? Spirituality is everywhere. Where does it come from? It comes from anything. How do you tap it into it? It's the knowledge and ability you can learn. You don't need to go to medical school to learn how to tap into spirituality. But a natural being gifted naturally can easily facilitate you into tapping into that spirituality. And the traditional healers training, they train into tapping into that spirituality. So faith, belief, and spirituality are interrelated, but all in all, spirituality is independent of the other. Belief is how you package your things, and faith is how deeply you are engaged in believing in that aspect. Locally, that's how I can answer that.
Does spirituality involve a deity, like a god on the other end, or it is just, I think that was the other part of this question.
Depending on how you define deity, but my discussion is mainly about my personal experience with the healers. Healers believe in the creator, and they give the creator different names as God, Ruhanga, Katonda, and all of that. The subjectivity of the name is depending on your culture and those other settings. But the presence of a supreme being is acknowledged by all traditional healers. But also, they believe that God created different spiritual entities And they also believe that those spiritual entities have abilities that can be utilized. And they learn how to tap into those abilities. Those don't become gods to them, no. The aspect of small god is a foreign aspect. Naye emisambwa, rubale, amayembe, emizimu are distinctly different from God. Katonda gyali, omutonzi gyali, tonda gyali. But these other aspects of categorizing different energy levels, yes. So deity, I'm not sure what you mean by deity, but these people believe in ancestral spirits. They believe in natural spirits and the
Good
like.
afternoon. My name is Musaz.
Hey, Msaz, can you please be patient?
Yes, that's what I can say. We can continue, sir.
Yeah, if you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand. It's only fair to those who have been here. Yes, so Mr. Musaz, if you have a question, please raise your hand because Nicholas raised his before you. Nicholas? Nicholas, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. So thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. I have about 3 questions. One, Doctor, you've mentioned so many spirits, the spirits that work, the spirits in the waters, the spirits where. Which of those spirits demand blood sacrifice and why? Number 2, you talked about the shrine. Why a shrine is hidden in the bush? Why not be built in a community like a hospital, since that is the hospital? And 3, what is the place of Jesus Christ in your spiritual understanding? Let me start with that for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The aspect, I'll begin with the last one, the aspect of Jesus Christ. That one I will avoid because I don't know about Jesus. All I know is read or being talked about. So I cannot answer that one. Why are shrines hidden? When the Christians came, they fought everything traditional. When the explorers came, the Europeans came, anything traditional was real. There was a systematic program to destroy whatever is African. 2, there was a systematic program to destroy whatever they cannot understand. 3, they had to destroy whatever was beyond their comprehension. So African spirituality was targeted, laws were established, traditional healers were incriminalized, imprisoned, and so to actually practice traditional medicine was a taboo. It was against the law of the land introduced by the Westerners. But the Africans were clever. They adopted Christianity, but still maintained their faith, their traditional practices. They could practice what is contemporary then, what is accepted, and then practice what they believe in the non-open hours. So utilizing things at night was out of necessity because they needed the system that serves them, but the system that serves them has been criminalized. They reached the extent whereby even in South Africa, a child could not be given a name, but or even taken to school if they have not been baptized. They could not be immunized until they have those kind of names. Yeah, for compliance, they had to give the names, but that did not destroy their belief system in what actually worked for them. That system was new, and that their own system had worked for their brothers and sisters for long. Now, do spirits require blood? Yes, some spirits might require blood, especially domesticated animal blood from goat, sheep, goat animals, cows, chicken, and all of that. But I have not seen a spirit that is utilized in healing that requires human blood. That one I did not see during my stay with the healers. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sekagya. There's a question here from Juko Mumiransanaf. If one is interested in visiting you, where can one find you, and what is the damage to the pocket? Where can you basically be found?
I can be visited at PROMETRA, Uganda, or Dr. Sekagya Institute of Traditional Medicine. If you just Google that, you will see where I am. I'm located in Impigi, Wama Sub-County, Buija Village.
Okay, thank you. So Mumiransanaf, if you Google Dr. Sekagya Yahaya, you'll be able to find his address. Even his phone number is public. You can always call him, like I did, and then you speak to him. Another question here from Pedson. Is traditional healing a matter of training or calling? Do the spirits choose you, or do you seek them out?
Traditional healing initially begins with a calling. But that calling, just excuse me, there's a bit of noise here. Allow me to. We can continue.
Yes.
Yeah. Traditional healing, it is not for anybody. You just don't wish and you become a traditional healer. But as a herbalist, yes, you can become a trained herbalist. But you won't become a traditional herbalist. A traditional herbalist is different from a trained herbalist. A traditional herbalist gets information through visions, ancestral spirits, dreams, and all of those aspects, initiation that I talked about. A trained herbalist, you are using the plant because of its phytochemical compound, because the plant has this ability, a compound that can reduce pressure, then you use that plant. But if you are to use the spiritual energy of the plant to reduce pressure, then it's not the active compound. So the way the plant is used is different if you are tapping into its spiritual energy, and it's different if you are tapping into its phytochemical compounds. For phytochemical compounds, you can go into the training as a herbalist. You can go into formal education, which I also offer at my institute. But for a calling, you need to have the excitable sites that I end up exciting. I can potentiate, but you must have the excitable sites.
Excitable sites. Okay. And then the last question I have from Peterson before I go to Peter is, can you provide more insight into the process of remote healing for fractured bones? Basically, we've seen cases where someone has a fractured arm or leg, and they're being treated remotely. Do you want to shed some light on that? Is it possible, first of all, and then how? How is that possible?
Yeah, it is very, very possible. It's very possible. And actually, I'm interested in a PhD student who can study that at a PhD level. We have the people who can do who do it. We need a student in that regard to bring the science out. But locally, energy is transferable. Energy is transferable. So because energy is transferable, that means the same principle of a key and lock works. When you get the person who has a fracture, you might not actually do much before you physically see that person. When you physically see that person, that image can go into your brain. The image of the fracture, where it is. Or, to make it simpler, you can transfer the energy levels of that broken site to another substance. Another substance could be, especially if that substance has life, it could be a chicken or even a piece of wood, part yomuti, no menyaka part komuti. And then you can rub that piece near the broken part. There is energy transfer in that aspect. So now, when you are dealing with that broken part of a chicken, or you can break the chicken and put it there, or you can break the piece of wood and put it there. Now, when you are mending that, because you placed it near and there was energy transfer, you are directly coding to that other person there. This can happen. Let me just give a slight example. You can see a photo, like now I'm seeing you, the moderator. You can make an expression that can make me sad. For example, if you start crying, my emotions will come by. It's not because you are near me, no. That image, that energy is transferable, and it can have a physiological impact on my energy levels. And that's what we deal with. That's what we manipulate. That's what we do. So even a broken bone, the energy levels at that site are different and they can be transferred. And when you are dealing with that transferred energy, you can work with it. In any case, you can work with a photo of that broken energy. You can still work with it and effect a healing. But we know practically how to do it. We don't know the science, how to explain it. But it does not work because it can be explained. It can work because we do it. It can be done. Whether our explanation is right or wrong, that's a different issue, but practically we do it. But if we get other people to explain it better, that would be added part on our part. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So there's the test of results. It just works. You can argue with it, but there are results. That's what you're saying.
And things don't work because they are explained well.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. So I'm expecting more questions in the chat. I see 2 hands up. Let me give Mr. Musazi a chance because he hasn't asked. Mr. Musazi, Namiti, I hope I pronounced your name right. Please unmute and ask your question or give your comment. Mr. Musazi, are you there? Please unmute, otherwise I'll give the chance to somebody else. Okay, Mr. Musaz is not here. Let me give a chance to those who haven't asked before. Joshua Biencha, then I'll go to you, Don Mbarara. Joshua, first.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yahaya. I'm glad that at least this time I can ask a question. The last time I attended your defense, we were over 600 on call on Zoom. And I'm the Atlas TI trainer. I remember when you mentioned that you were which doctor. People laughed uncontrollably. But that said, during defense, I don't know whether the other lady who first gave her comments was your supervisor, but she had mentioned that she had moved to either Switzerland, and some of the traditionalists or spiritualists, when they interfaced with the cross, they would say that the cross has on more energies and more energies and stuff like that. So what would be your comment on that, based on also your submission that there is order and rankings in spirituality and spirits? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joshua Biencha, for that question. In fact, that question brings out the highlights, raises aspects that I did not address very well, the aspect of symbolism. A cross is a symbol. So the cross, like any other symbol, a symbol has energies that can be tapped into. A cross, a symbol, there is a relationship, there is what scientifically I have forgotten how it was expressed. A symbol activates some flow of a synaptic flow. Synaptic, is it neuro? It's a neurotransmission issue. A sign of a symbol really stimulates some aspects. And that symbol, be it a cross, be it a moon, be it a calabash, be it whatever it is, when you study symbol and symbolism and how symbol and symbolism interact with humanity through invisible ways, you actually appreciate that it requires possibly also, and it's another study field that should be investigated further, because one of my trainers is called Dr. Bodosu. He's the king of Benin. He actually articulates very well symbol and symbolism, and how symbol and symbolism is utilized in rituals to generate healing energies. I may fail to express it, but what I know is that there is a lot of connectivity of some aspects of humanity at spiritual level to the aspect of symbol and symbolism. I cannot articulate it very well, but at least I had an opportunity to see somebody who articulates very well. And I know some of the people in the audience can actually possibly articulate it better. But symbol and symbolism is an aspect that is worth investigation.
Okay, thank you. Mbarara Don, please, your question or comment?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for hosting this space. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Doctor, for the incredible explanations and history of where we are at in terms of improving and putting to a respectable platform our traditional medicines. However, I have some reservations. Full disclosure, I am a person who has, you could say, a special relationship with reality or fact. I tend to side more with something, I believe something which is a fact. And although our medicine was destroyed and there is that need to bring it to the forefront and prominence, we find that that space and your effort has followed the, what should I say, what the religious has now become. They claim to heal human conditions, yet they don't. That is why this medicine, the substance and the physiology, the modern medicine has now more benefit to our well-being than our traditional medicine. Why? Because they care about efficacy. Is this medicine going to cure a disease? Is this traditional healing whereby you rub a tree going to heal someone who is broken? They put it to a test and they come up with a result and they even publish it. Somebody else somewhere can even replicate that result. My problem with this traditional medicine, although we care about it and want it for prominence and be a respectable thing, it is our thing, it has refused to subject itself to test, to research, so that results can come out and show that this method is efficacious. It can heal someone. Someone has a condition, this process can heal them. We have not put it to a test. It has become an area where it has been populated by charlatans, crooks, people who will tell you go and sacrifice a human being because they have consistently come to you and the method has not worked. The same happens with the people who continue praying and they never get what they want. But they keep going and sacrificing more and more and more because their God is not there. They were lied to. So, my, what should I call it, appeal is that we subject ourselves to methods of research that have given results, that have proven that if you swallow a Panadol, it will cure your headache. If you go and somebody rubs a tree, somebody's leg somewhere is going to heal. How do we know? He has done it for X number of people and X number of people have gotten healed. Then we shall be behind you. We shall say, whoever is trying to discriminalize, whoever is trying to say this medicine does not work is wrong. And here are our statistics. Here is what we have to show. But as long as we continue to be as pastors, as reverends, as sheikhs, you keep promising a God who was simply brought here, they never heal. But people keep going there, and it has become a scam.
Okay. Thank you, Don. I think you've made your point.
Yes.
What's
Thank
your
you,
response,
Don
Doctor?
Mugarura. Thank you, Don Mugarura. And in fact, I have liked that analogy. I have liked the way you have expressed it because that's where we begin. You have your submission has raised many aspects and then also brought in confusion. Traditional medicine is not about belief. I mean, religious aspects, believe in God. Traditional medicine is belief in what works. And as a medical doctor, and during my master's and other studies, and I work, and I'm in the department of pharmacy. Efficacy, things that work, is actually the narrow science that we follow. Logic, whatever is logical, is not necessarily right, my brother. There are many logical issues that are wrong. There are many aspects that we fail to explain that are right. Our brain is so small to explain whatever works. If you trust that whatever you should believe in is what you understand with your brain, and yet you accept that your brain can understand less than one hundredth, because we trust in what we in our brain. But again, we consent that what exists in the world, our brain can understand very little. And we make that very little 100% to be the basis of the yardstick for us. That is a very wrong concept, my brother. My brother Mugarura. There is a lot, much more that Western science has not discovered yet. Western science is a very narrow science. That shouldn't be even the standard for measurement of what exists in the world. Western science, yes, replicability, being able to replicate something is scientific. But up to now, Jesus has not been replicated. Can we say he didn't exist? He didn't do those miracles because he has not been replicated elsewhere? If replicability, being ability to replicate, determines science, then you are in a wrong footing, my brother. There is a lot that we cannot replicate. We don't have a standard person, my brother. Western medicine assumes we are standard people, that what applies to you will work to me. That's a wrong concept. We don't have a standard person, neither should we have a standard method of treatment for an individual. My background is different from yours. My ancestors are different from yours. The way your ancestors are going to influence health aspect in you will be different from mine. Standardization is important, but standardization is not a good criteria. It's not the only criteria. When people, the first decade of traditional medicine really assisted Chinese medicine to come up, the principles of acupuncture cannot stand the Western yardstick. The principles of Ayurveda medicine don't stand the standard measures of conventional Western medicine. The same to Ayurveda. Irish, different medical systems have different standards that violate or that don't agree with the Western biological narrow scientific approach. That science, I belong to it. I'm a logical person. We follow what is the efficacious test that can be replicated. We do that, but that's not all. And in any case, that system is failing. In the next 50 years, the way Western medicine is now will not stand. When I was studying medicine I joined the medical school in 1987. And the way the things are being done now within this digital era, there is a lot that we practice then and it worked that cannot stand the medical systems now. There is a lot of outdated explanations that we used to have then. There are new explanations, but the practice can still stay. The explanations can change. So if we go by explanation, we are missing the point. let us go by results. If words being said can heal, if you jumping a tree can heal, and we can demonstrate that to many people, that's already a scientific process. How it works will come later. Doing observational studies could be the first measure of developing traditional medicine, where we come in as scientists, we observe a traditional healer doing things on different people, and thereafter we get convinced that his place works, then we look for explanations. But we should not disregard something because it has failed the Western yardstick. And to me, that's where I am really convinced that the Western medicine, in which I'm educated very well, is narrow compared to the traditional healthcare system in which I have a calling. I can really compare both. I don't disregard Western medicine. There is a lot good in it, but there is a lot that cannot match the traditional concepts of health.
Thank you,
So,
Dr. Yahaya.
at the end of it, what do we need? To
Mm.
avoid charlatanism, we need regulation. If traditional healers can be given, that system can give an autonomy, like it was given to lawyers. Before I studied law, I did law, but and I have a diploma in it. But law system, before they created the law society, they were lawyers, everybody mandate and to regulate themselves. There is a system. Medical system, we have a council. There is a regulatory system. Now, traditional medicine, every quack, everybody can go into it because it is not very well regulated. And if we get a council that will follow only Western standards in regulation, we shall miss the point. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Yahaya. Before we leave the point of the charlatans, I think you cannot deny that, like any field, like you've said, once there's no regulation, organization, charlatans come in. So let's talk about blood sacrifice or human sacrifice. From your study and experience and calling, is there any of the spirits, or misambwa, or mando, or whatever, that demand human blood?
I personally have not experienced that. Neither have I seen that in the healers I have worked with. And like we are talking of genuine healers, a study with genuine healers, they even detest Bwewesala. If you are making a preparation in Bwewesala, that preparation is spoiled. Accidentally, human blood in a jam, that preparation is spoiled. But I cannot say what I did stands for all. There is much more room to study. But at the end of it, if you find people who have been engaged in human sacrifice, they have gone to courts of law, and they find that actually this is a genuine healer, I would be interested that destroying the system of healing, that kind of utterances or formulations can still be made by. I cannot say yes or no, but the little I have experienced, human sacrifice is not an issue in healing.
Okay, thank you. Let me first go back to Musazi. Mr. Musazi, are you there? I gave you a chance earlier and you didn't respond, so I moved on. Can you unmute and speak now? Mr. Musazi?
Yes, yes. Can you hear
Okay.
me now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay. I have to apologize when I tried to join the meeting first. My microphone was on. I was greeting somebody here, and it seemed like I was joining the discussion, but I wasn't speaking. I just want to pick up the point made by Don Mugarura, because I think the doctor's response to what Don Mugarura was asking is not really convincing, because when you look at Western medicine, and I'm speaking not as a healthcare professional, a medical doctor, I am speaking as a layman. But what I'm saying is supported by evidence. When you look at Western medicine, modern medicine, it's very popular because its efficacy is supported by evidence. Here in Uganda, maybe I should say Buganda, people normally say that, no, we had our traditional way of treating patients. Traditional healing really worked before the Bazoon came. But when you ask traditional healers, for example, how do you diagnose diabetes, and how do you come to the conclusion that somebody who has been getting diabetes treatment through traditional healing is recovering, I think you are going to struggle there, because the traditional healer doesn't even know exactly how diabetes affects a patient. So for me, I have a problem with traditional healing, spiritual healing, because measuring efficacy is a problem. You have people who claim to be able to treat patients, but they don't even know. They are not particularly knowledgeable about the conditions, the diseases that they are treating. If, for example, you say you're a traditional healer, that you can cure hypertension, high blood pressure, but you don't even know the normal blood pressure reading, then I have a problem with you. A cardiologist knows how the heart works, knows how high blood pressure affects the function of the heart. A traditional healer may struggle to explain in a proper way how their medicine is going to be effective once the patient starts to use it. I hope I didn't ramble on, but that's
Thank you.
the point.
Let the doctor respond to you. And then
yes, Musazi, thank you very much. It is good you have highlighted it, that aspect. Now, let us slightly reflect. Western medicine can explain about diabetes currently very well. But diabetes or hypertension is not the complaint of the patient. It is a name given by the doctor to the patient, that it is hypertension. A patient will not come complaining of hypertension, will not come complaining of diabetes, will not come complaining of pneumonia. Those are names, terminologies given by the health experts. So what is the patient's complaint, other than the doctor's naming, is what we should consider. Today, you will go to a doctor and they will say your problem is diabetes. You go to another doctor after they have given you medicine and the medicine for diabetes has not improved your condition. You will go back and then another expert will come and say, no, it's hypertension, secondary to this. All those are aspects that manifest in the body. with signs and symptoms that the doctor adds and give a terminology to describe all of that. But that is in the body secondary to something. It is possibly an illness. You could, for example, be having let me think of a relationship problem at home. A husband is being a headache to a wife, and the wife develops hypertension because of the commotions at home. The doctor will treat hypertension, and the diagnostic methods will be used for diagnosis will detect hypertension, will not detect a commotion at home, violence at home. It will not detect that. Divination, using traditional divination methods, will detect the violence at home, whereby hypertension is a secondary effect. And the healer, using divination problems, will give remedies that will solve the violence at home, and then the hypertension, the lady will settle and the hypertension will go down. You go to a hospital with your hypertension, they will give you medicines to reduce the pressure without solving the commotion at home. The hypertension will continue as long as the home is not settled. To you, my friend Musazi, who should you engage first? Should you engage the diviner to get the cause of the problem, remove it, and then manage the hypertension? Or should we go with the diagnostician who actually finds that you have hypertension, gives you antihypertensives without looking at the root cause? That one, I leave it to you. For me, I feel both are necessary. We should promote both systems that can identify the symptoms and the signs and symptoms and manage them, while also addressing the root cause. We don't have a laboratory that will talk of a cultural issue as the cause of the problem. So in essence, I agree with you that Western medicine is evidence-based. The evidence will be hypertension. The evidence will not be the root cause of that hypertension, that it is a family issue. Thank you very much. Everything has limits. Those have limits, and I think we should promote both.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sekagya. Before we proceed, allow me. We had advertised 6 to 8 p.m. I see it's coming to 8 p.m., but I'm just begging for an extra at least 20 minutes because we started late because of technology challenges. I hope that's okay with you, Doctor. Because I know, yeah, so let's extend by maybe 20, 30 minutes at most, and then we'll bring this to a close. If you're just joining us, we are talking to Dr. Sekagya, who's both trained in the Western medicine as a dentist and public health specialist, but is also a traditional healer or a spiritualist. So we're just trying to understand how he balances the two. And clearly the spiritual side is winning so far, the traditional one. Let me give Molino a chance, and then I'll come to you, Nicholas. Molino is also a medical doctor, by the way. So Molino, good to have you. Unmute and ask your question.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I came late. I won't comment about what I missed, but I just want to respond to the illustration that the doctor has just given about hypertension. Doctor, I don't know when you last practiced, but that illustration is misleading. First of all, you are saying that the traditional healers will be able to know the cause of, I mean, the trigger of the or cause of hypertension. Yes, us in the clinic, we are not able. That's not true. Actually, that's not true. What we do in the clinic is not to give medication. No, we do what is called history taking. We take history carefully, and history taking is a skill. Before we begin even to treat in the medical school, they give us the opportunity to begin treating in the final year, in the final semester. But all those years, the clinical part of it where we handle patients, we start from third year. We are taught history taking. To take history, and what are we looking for in history? We are looking at the presentation, then we are digging deep at what are the risk factors, what are the causes, you understand? So diseases like hypertension, taken history, and then you're different. Why? Yes, if the examination is showing that the blood pressure is high, what are the risk factors? Because not every person who has high blood pressure needs medication. That one also we should know. Not every person who comes in the clinic and the blood pressure is high needs medication. No. We even have what we call white collar hypertension. That is the most people who come to see a doctor, their blood pressure goes high. They don't need medication. They just need to go out of the hospital and it comes down. So before we attempt to give medications, we first do history taking. We look at the risk factors. You understand? So the example he gave about violence at home is one of the risk factors of what? Of high blood pressure. You understand? So when we examine and take history and you have outlined the risk factors, then we subject the patient to a protocol to diagnose. And what is that protocol? One of the protocols is we tell you to come back for 3 consecutive days. If the blood pressure remains high, then you are a candidate of what? Of medication. If in one of those 3 days the blood pressure drops in just one, then that means we concentrate on the risk factors. We don't give you medication. We concentrate on the risk factors. We deal with the virus. Hospitals, there's what they call vertical retirization. Hospitals have incorporated in many departments. They are counselors, they are what. Apart from referring, they might have that department. You go to the what? To the counselors. They counsel you. They do this. So we deal with those. If it is fats that are leading to the misbehaving of your blood pressure, we deal with the fats. We take you to the lab. We see which of the fats that we know are rising. Then we advise you on the diet. If they are too high and we also need to bring medication, we deal with that. And so that illustration is misleading. Okay. I don't know when you last practiced. The traditional healers, what you have said they do, we do first before we give medication.
Thank you, Dr. Morino.
Thank you.
Dr. Sekagya, your response to that?
Yes, Dr. Morino, thank you very much. I practice. Now, in history taking, it's different from divination. History taking is taken. There is much we cannot get out through history taking. In divination, because in history taking, we are taking about what the patient knows about or the relatives of the patient. In divination, we are picking even what the patient is not even aware. Even the relatives are not aware of. It could be cultural issues. It could be ancestralized ancestral issues, many things like that. And it could be, yes, violence, but the cause of violence could have a different issue. So we normally go to the root causes. In this case,
just a
the
moment.
root causes.
Just a moment, but you are aware that history taking depends on the person. Just a moment, doctor.
Now, I understand if Jethro,
taking depends on the person doing it.
Jethro,
Professor,
please take me to the slide of the root causes of disease, please. Differences between illness and disease.
Okay, give me a minute. Give me a minute. I'm going to bring that up.
Illness and disease.
Yeah, coming up shortly. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
So my brother Morimo, when you look at the illness, the differences between illness and disease, many aspects of disease, some of them are secondary to illnesses. And so diseases that are secondary to illnesses with cultural issues, spiritual issues, witchcraft, we might not get them when we are doing history taking and making that diagnostic process you are talking about. If the physiological changes are a result of soul, moral, and spirit, we might not get them in the laboratory, my brother. So yes, that system you're talking about is actually for diseases, it's very, very okay. But if the disease is secondary to an illness or lumbe, what I'm saying is that divination will do a greater aspect in going towards the root cause of the disease. So that was my argument there. I'm not arguing that the way we do it in Western medicine is wrong. No, it's not wrong. But it could miss up some aspects which can be brought about by divination. That's why I'm saying, my argument is both systems should be allowed to develop and then later possibly integrated.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sekagya. Let me give a chance to, I see there are 4 hands up. Let me first give a chance to Priest Isaiah, to Mwine, Mutawazi, and then I'll come to, yeah, Isaiah, Priest Mutawazi.
Hello, everyone. How are you? It's good to be here.
Yes, it's good to have you.
First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Yahaya for the brevity. And he has ably represented the traditional healers. I have always been here, Dr. Yahaya, you don't know me, but I've always been here pleading and praying that one of you traditional healers go to school. And thank you for doing that. because that is going actually to sort out a lot of many things. The second thing that I would like also to ask you is we the Christians have a book. So you also traditional healers should have a book. We the Christians have a book. We do not all agree on that book, but we have it at least. It's a working document. So we need a working document of the traditional healers where we can follow up these things. And this research of yours actually is very, very, very instrumental in taking us from where we are to where we want to go. And I think now this makes sense because all the traditional healers have been doing is threatening instead of explaining. So you have come up with a different approach. You are not threatening, you are now explaining. That is what we have always wanted. Before we start fighting the Westerners, we should have something to fight with. We must have at least tools to fight with, because what the West has done to us, it has tools to fight with. We do not have that. And I do not agree that the oral tradition will actually be sustainable. So we need these things to be documented. And since you're even leading some organization of the traditional healers, let's come up with a document where we can document all the misambwas, all the mizimu, all the vajaja, and then we can have a reference point whenever we want to consult these things, etc. That's number one. Number two, I have told people here, we always have fellowships here every Monday, and I have told them that we must always remember to apply spiritual solutions to spiritual problems and physical solutions to physical problems. And I think that is what your research actually dares to do. That's what it dares to do. And I like the part where you differentiate between the illness and disease. Well, and in your research, illness is one of the cause of illness is indiscipline. It is indiscipline. That is one of the cause of illness. And even the physical disease, one of the cause of physical disease is also indiscipline in most cases. However, there are other causes of that disease. When you are indiscipline by itself is not enough to cause illness, but the spirit somewhere, somehow cause that illness. So in your research, I would like also to see those spirits that cause illness, the distinction between the spirits that cause illness, and then those spirits that come and heal and cure, or are they the same spirits? We would like also to see that, because in science, there are viruses that causes disease, okay? And then they are favorable viruses that actually support our body, etc. I don't know whether they call them viruses as well, or bacteria, etc.
Good bacteria and bad bacteria, is that what you're saying?
Exactly. So we would like to know whether the spiritists have also that whole thing of good spirits and bad spirits, and then we need also to know whether some of the bad spirits are our ancestors, and that actually takes me to the other point. To me, I think as a theologian, there's a difference between spirituality and spiritism. What you are communicating in this research is not spirituality, it is spiritism. It is spiritism. Spirituality deals with reality, where we can even test it. We have those patterns. It is reality. It is the social order. That is spirituality. And then spiritism is invoking magical powers, ancestors. In fact, spiritism is about mystification of supernatural and natural forces and powers. So that is spiritism, because you speak to the dead, because the ancestors are dead. Okay, and by the dead, we are not saying the broad umbrella of the dead, but the ancestors. When we talk about the ancestors, we are talking about those that you are related to. So, Dr. Yahaya, if me am Munyankole, I have my own ancestors, I think I don't have to come to Dr. Yahaya to help me, because the people who can be healed by Dr. Yahaya are those who belong to the ancestors of Dr. Yahaya. You can only refer me back to my Banyankole ancestors to go on that. So we are wondering how the dead, are helping the living. Okay, that kind of science, and the justification there which you gave was the logic of what works. The logic of what works. Now I have issues with that personally as a logician. One of my professions is philosophy, and we have done logic. There's the fallacy of what works. In other words, I just give an example and I give space to other people. Let's say that succeeding as a robber, does that justify robbery? Because it has worked. So we have to be careful when we say that it works. But does that justify the principle of right and wrong, or so we just need to know, because we cannot face the Western world with this kind of logic by telling them it works, but how does it work? What is the procedure? What is the procedure? The procedure, then you said in the middle of your presentation, traditional healing is not about belief, it is about what works. but what works cannot be explained, but it works. It is the test of results. Granted, granted. If I succeed as a robber, does that justify robbery in that sense? So that's the whole thing. Otherwise, I appreciate you so much. And I also think, finally, Mr. Moderator, I'm sorry. I also think that Western scientists and medical experts should stop the arrogancy of dismissing traditional herbalists, because scientifically all medicine is gotten from nature. So I really appreciate traditional herbalists. In fact, those my brothers who know me, I use too much herbal than these pharmacy tabs, because I know that this is medicine. So I think the pharmacy is the same as herbal for me. It's one and the same. And I think, and I would like to establish that people like Dr. Yahaya, the mystical traditional healers, are equivalent to psychologists. They're just equivalent to psychologists. So I think there must be some kind of marriage, okay? And I think Dr. Yahaya is telling us that you do not need to consult the Western psychologist. I am here, you are a psychologist. Come and we talk. Come and we talk. The only critique that we might have with the African psychologist who prefer calling themselves traditional healers is, have they done some neuroscience? Have they understood how the brain works, etc.? And then we go to that. Then when we go into these other things, is there a difference between manipulating the energy in nature, because that has happened in Hinduism, the Asian people do that, they manipulate the energy, and a lot of healing happens. They use a lot of stones, etc., and a lot of healing happens. Is there a difference between manipulating existing forces in energy? Because God, I believe in God, unfortunately, for people who do not believe in God. God has put all this in nature, okay? And these energies are in space, and we can manipulate them for our healing, etc. Is there a difference between manipulating energy and then mystifying energy forces and turning them into spirits and powers? Because that's the line that we need to demarcate. And once we are done with that, I think we will be in a very good place where we cannot be challenged by the West, and where we can still run all these things. So let's think about it those lines. I hope I made some sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Priest Mutabazi. You raised a range of issues. I hope, Doctor, you're keeping track of them. Let's start with the documentation. Why haven't you people written something, a holy book or something?
Thank you very much. In fact, I would like to thank Mr. Mutabazi for that theological approach to now, spirituality, those are terminologies. Subjectivity comes in what you mean, and you justify what you mean. Now, about the book, me as a healer now, I don't believe in documentation. I don't believe in documentation. Because, for example, what is written in the books he's talking about is what people understood about what was done. Not everything that happened then. So if we take those books to be 100%, yet we know they only wrote what they understood, or they were inspired to understand, and we are sure they could have left out much, much more. So to me, that book becomes not a standard book even to gauge, to be close to what should be. We understand very little about what is said. Then we document even much less. And we take what is documented to be 100%. To me, that documentation. And to me, as a healer, I would think going to the issue of the book, which is now being disagreed upon. The Quran is being disagreed by other people. And those books, 100 years to come, might be absolute. We shouldn't go into that trend. Much information is, when not written, is really preserved. If the healers had written books and Christianity came in and religions came in, the education has come in, they would have watered whatever was written down. But now they have no basis to water what we are doing. And in any case, what we are doing is becoming much stronger, much as it was not written. It's gaining greater logic.
Dr.
It's
Yahaya.
gaining greater understanding. The religions failed to really fight the system because it was not written. If it had been written, it would have now been absolute. But it was not written. It is still strong, and I believe we should not write.
Yeah, Isaiah, you can come in.
Yeah,
Just on that point.
I just wanted to ask Dr. Yahaya, because when this presentation started, there was a part where he said that he was influenced by his mother. And Dr. Yahaya, I would like you to answer this question straight away. Do you think between you and your mother, who do you think knows more than the other? Do you think there are things that you know that your mother did not know?
For now,
yeah.
Yes, I think there are things I know that my mother didn't know, and there is much more she knew that I don't know.
Exactly. So don't you think that one of your sources of your knowledge, given your presentation and the history that you gave us, your journey, documentation has contributed much to your journey of this knowledge that you have?
Yes.
Or you don't? It has?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Yahaya. Continue.
And now, because we didn't write, but I can access Hamuzimu, so I'm still getting to the source. So I have not lost her because she died.
Yeah, naye kugamba omuzimu tegumanyi byomanyi naye obenefitize mu documentation.
Omuzimu gundabula mu byokukola.
Eyo paati nagitegedde Dr. Yahaya. Nze paati yange eri ku you are a PhD candidate, you are a master's holder, you did diploma in law. Tolowooza nti no documentation yezo jane, that journey of documentation ekufudde kyoli nekwawula n'abasawo bannaabalala kuba kati gwe tofaana maama Fiina, you are not her level, are you?
She could be better than me.
But still you could be better than her in this aspect of documentation, aren't you?
In articulating.
Exactly. That journey of documentation, trying to participate is, that was the idea. Thank you, Dr. Yahaya.
All right.
Dr. Yahaya, speak to this point. Guys, I see the hands up. I'm going to come to you. Just bear with me. This point of you guys being more like psychologists or psychiatrists for that matter. In fact, that brings me to a question from Kato, if I may read it. Kato asks, how do you... There are conditions like chronic pain or psychological disorders where modern medicine has not always been effective. Do you believe that some of the success of spiritual healing for such conditions might be attributed to the mind-body connection or psychological relief, similar to the placebo effect? Basically, he's saying the belief around the spirituality, more than the spirituality itself, might be the healing, working more as a placebo effect. What do you have to say about that?
Yes, partly I could agree with him, but partly I might not. Because when you are treating a mad person, his psychology is off. So he's not even believing in you. So the aspect of belief is off, but we get again and treat them. When you are treating an infant, a child, his psychology is not about whether he believes in you or not. The aspect of manipulating psychological aspects could be yes and no, because it wouldn't stand valid for a mad person or an infant. And then rituals, we use rituals in healing. Rituals tap into different aspects of humanity. Rituals tap into the psyche. Rituals tap into the bioenergies of the body. The rituals tap into the rhythm. Rituals tap into the soul, the spirit, and all other aspects, which partly contributes to the betterment of the individual. Because as healers, we believe it's not only the brain that is intelligent. The body is very intelligent. The body is intelligent. The organs are intelligent, and they can be communicated to, which bypasses the brain, and they respond. So rituals are a mechanism that speaks to the body other than to the brain. And we get good results out of utilizing rituals.
Do you manipulate the energies? I think that was one of the questions. Or do you just use them?
We tap into the energy forces. We tap into the energies. So we know how to, which codes to utilize to tap into the spiritual aspect of a tree in order to influence the spiritual aspect of the human. We can tap into the spiritual aspect of an animal to improve the spiritual aspect of the human. So we know what to do at the spiritual level. It's not necessarily manipulation, but it's tapping into.
Tapping into. Okay. Thank you. Time is against us. Nancha Brenda, since it's your first time, please switch on your mic and ask.
Papa.
Yes.
Thank you so much for giving me a chance.
You're the first lady to ask a question.
No, actually, I don't have a question. I have two submissions.
Yeah, quickly, please.
One is to inform Dr. Yahaya that when it comes to working on mad people, when it comes to working on mad people, we first give them medicine, the medicine that helps them to have their mind able to get able to get to a point that we can interact with them and then they understand what we are saying. In psychology, we do that. Then number two, I wanted to inform Pastor Isaiah to add on what Dr. Sekagya had said. In Uganda, they have a belief that the spirits are the custodians of our history. When people die, they are believed to ascend. They are believed to ascend into a higher knowing, so they get to a realm where they know more than we know. So the people have not yet found it. They did not. Our ancestors did not find it appropriate to do documentation because it was not necessary. Reason being, the spirits would inform them of whatever they decide they wanted to know. They would give them all the histories. However, now, that was just an answer to what Pastor White had said, to try to defend Dr. Yahaya. But what I fault them at is, it is selfish because, especially in the past, in every family had a priest. So there was always someone on whom the spirits would ascend to, and then every family had someone who could help them in that regard. But with the introduction of Christianity, we got to understand, we got to evolve from that setting. And now we have actually evolved, and now we have known Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ can even talk to us and tell us the things that we need to know. So we haven't needed that so much. And now we have also got more knowledge, and we have known that those spirits that we call ancestors are not even our ancestors. They are familiar spirits. They are not familiar spirits, but they are spirits that, because it is believed that whenever someone is born, a demon is born, that is going to follow them up to form in the same image of that person. That is going to follow them up for the rest of their lives, to know who they are and have simulations of this person, how they think, how they act, and all that stuff. So these demons know the histories of this person. And I think that is the reason as why Dr. Sekagya cannot trust those spirits to know more than he knows at this point, because they cannot learn more, because they are no longer here. They cannot learn more. That is why now they don't know anything.
Okay,
Now,
thank you, Brenda. Brenda, in the interest of time, I'm going to stop you there. I think your point has been made. Yeah. Dr. Yahaya, a quick response to my sister Nancha.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Nancha. Thank you, Nancha, for that. Now, her submission, I appreciate. What I should what I should add is that we have various ways of understanding. And those understandings are shaped by our cultures, our history, what we read about, and they will be multiple. But still, if they serve us, we shall go with that. To me, I know, much as we have different spirits, omuzimu ogukuyunga to those spirits were ancestral. Other spirits, we might not be related to them, but omuzimu ogukuyungako gwajjajjaawo. So all in all, I end by saying we should really reconsider ancestralization. I think that's what I really want to do. I want to develop a theory of ancestralization. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, guys. We need to close this. I'm going to give the people who have put their hands up 1 minute each to give your question or comment, and then I'll give Dr. a chance to wrap up, and then we'll close. Starting with you, Dr. Mourinho, your mic is unmuted, please. I'll come to Musazi next,
Yes,
and then
you.
I'll go to Peter.
Yes, thank you. My concern is according to the submissions of Dr. Yahaya, as if he's saying traditional healing is healing that works without an explanation of how it works. You know, that's what he tried to give. And from the examples, I remember I came in when he was giving the example of the bone. I think someone asked about the fractures. Yeah, but we always receive fractures from those people and their complications. You know, to the layman, it is healing. But actually, when you look at it, it's not healing. There is malunion, bones that are not joined well. They are not. So it's you know, the father of modern medicine, the father of medicine was called Hippocrates. And you know that when we have an oath, as doctors called the Hippocratic oath, but medicine is no longer called healing. It is called medicine, evidence-based medicine. So even what is calling healing, it's not healing when you come to the hospital.
Okay.
There
Thank
are
you. Thank
complications.
you.
Yes.
Now,
Thank you, Dr.
yes,
Mourinho. In the interest of time, quickly a response to that.
Yes, my brother, thank you very much, doctor. Things don't work because they can be explained well. Photosynthesis does not take place because we have an explanation on how photosynthesis takes place. Parasympathetic nervous system does not work because it is explained. Explanations came in later when things were working. Things don't work because they can be explained. That's what I want to insist. Explanations are good today, they're absolute tomorrow, but the thing will still work the same. So I insist explanations don't justify the working of the system.
Okay.
And two, bone healing, and also, you see, what he's saying is alignment of bones during healing is very important. If healers are weak in that, how can we improve that skill in them, such that we can take the fractured person to the hospital for alignment, proper alignment, and then we take them to the healer to facilitate bone growth. They have
but we can't call that
facilitate
yes,
bone growth.
No, because our mothers who are not traditional spiritual healers do that. They do that. They deal with our bones because they don't have the money to take us to hospitals. But we cannot call our mothers traditional healers. So it's not, you know, the fact that some people don't know about.
What are they? What are
no,
they? They're doctors.
No, they're just
do
aware.
They give medicine? Do they give medicine?
No, they don't give medicine. But I remember very well when I got a fracture. What I'm saying is that our parents in the villages.
No,
because
when you got a fracture, continue. When you got a fracture,
yes, my mother every morning, you understand? He could press my hand and I would cry. You understand? You understand? But my mother is not a traditional healer.
Now, did she know the science? Did she know the science? Did she know the science? And did it work?
From her experience, you understand? From her experience as she was growing, so, she knew that bones would be aligned.
Experience is experience
but
is a good thing.
It's not a
it's learning.
It was not a spirit. My point, it's not a spirit. So if people have, if someone who has a spirit and is found to do a certain skill, in quotes, if someone who has a spirit and is found to have a certain skill, you don't mistake that skill.
Can you say with certainty that she was not spiritual? Can you say with certainty that she was not spiritual? Can you say that?
No,
Can
she
you
was
say
not.
It with certainty? Can you say it with certainty that she was not spiritual?
Yes, she was not. She was not. She just used her experience. Now,
be scientific.
Okay, guys.
Now, when I went to medical,
you cannot say that with certainty. You cannot say that with certainty. You cannot read it out.
She was not. She was not. She's not a traditional. Yes, she was not. You understand?
Would you
and when I went to medical school, this is my point.
Would she be more brown if the spirit was there? How do you tell that she was not spirit as well?
No.
Okay.
Let me explain.
You talk as a scientist.
Okay.
What I'm saying, you talk as a scientist. You cannot tell that she was not spiritual. You cannot tell that she was not spiritual.
Okay, Dr. Yahaya, first
when I went to medical school, when I went to medical school, it was explained that in children, we call them, their fractures are not like adults. They're called green stick. Even if you don't do anything, they have an opportunity to mend. Are you understanding?
Yes.
So my mom got success because of the little experience she got, and then because children have got green stick fractures. Their fractures are not like in adults. Now, the reason people come to hospitals with malunions because they are adults and those so-called spiritual healers cannot handle that. It's not healing. It is healing in the eyes of laymen. It's
and
not
what
healing.
Is it to you?
Okay.
What is it to you?
Marino, you've made your point. Doctor, you respond to that quickly and then we'll...
No.
Doctor,
let us not abuse. Yes, let us not abuse our understanding. Going to medical school and you get the way Western medicine explains a structure, a fracture, and the healing process. Healing can take place even without giving medicine. We are aware of that. But it can be potentiated with herbal medicines or other manipulations. That's what we are saying. And if the healers can actually potentiate the healing of a bone fracture, but fail to do the alignment properly, how can we assist them in the process? Let us not just water them down, but if there is a way we can help them in manipulation. And you know, alignment is not easy. You know, alignment is not easy. So if there is a way we can improve that system, that's okay. Let us do it. If we find a weakness, how can we improve? Let us use our science to improve the system.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sekagya. Let me give a chance to Musazi Namiti, and then finally I'll give a chance to Peter to ask his question and then move a vote of thanks. Musazi, are you still there?
Yeah, yes, I'm
Sorry if
still
I've
here.
kept you for long, but I couldn't help
No
myself.
problem, no problem. No problem.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm going to use a term that we've not been using because I think we are now trying to, to use words in ways that are confusing people. Traditional medicine versus Western or modern medicine. I've been listening carefully to the doctor, but I find that where the doctor is going to be challenged, if, let's say, he was speaking to a very large audience, you have a lot of people who have used Western medicine, where the doctor is going to have challenges is that he does not really seem to be convinced that people are going to take traditional medicine seriously if you have a body of evidence that shows that this medicine works as effectively as Western medicine. Before I came here, I was reading an article about a famous basketball player who has succumbed to brain cancer. How do you use traditional medicine to treat brain cancer, to treat lung cancer? How do you use traditional medicine to serve as vaccines, immunization? When I was young, I lived in a village where in 1 week, one family lost 5 kids to measles. When this government came to power way back in the 80s, it introduced an immunization program that enabled a lot of kids to be immunized against what they used to call child killer diseases, measles, diphtheria, whooping cough. Today, you can go to many villages in Uganda and you won't find a single child who is dying of measles because of immunization. And when we talk immunization, we are talking Western modern medicine. So for me, I think that much as we should embrace traditional medicine, and I don't have a problem with traditional medicine as long as it works. But until we can demonstrably prove that it is very effective, it works, I think it is going to take us an awful lot of time to convince the rest of the world that it works. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Namiti. Peter, I want you to give your final.
Just a moment.
Okay.
Just a moment for Musazi.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Musazi, over that. I'm not disputing the role of Western medicine. I'm not comparing. I'm not downplaying Western medicine. No, it has its role. What I'm saying, traditional medicine also has a role. Let us study it. Let us understand it. Let us improve it. There are aspects where Western medicine might fail to address and traditional medicine can address. I'm not saying traditional medicine should replace Western medicine, no. But also WHO, World Health Organization, asserts that some aspects of traditional medicine cannot be understood. And I'm saying it is our role as Africans to actually understand or bring to light those aspects that others cannot understand. Let us not just fight within ourselves. If I have come up with something, how can others improve it? I think that should be the gist of the matter. I'm not contrasting, I'm not fighting, but what I'm saying that there is also some aspects we should look at. Thank you very much for that.
Moderator, that is why I told you guys spiritual solutions to spiritual problems and physical solutions to physical problems. That's what I was telling you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you
Peter,
very much.
I want you to give a vote of thanks to our speaker, Dr. Sekagya. He's done a tremendous job. So Peter, please move a vote of thanks, and then we'll close this session. I know you had a question and a comment, but in the interest of time, I think we can't take it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hills Sekagya Yahaya, for this presentation. Twagalo kwebaza. You have been informative in this presentation. You have proven until you studied medicine. You have studied medicine. You have proven that according to your responses, they have been intelligent and learned. We look forward to hearing from you. In fact, we look forward to seeing you here at Fellowship. And we continue discussing and presenting also the concept of spirituality from a theological point of view, Christian theological point of view. Nzikirizanga nange nzigalawo banga nkwebaza nti kyentegedde omulimu guno eddimu lyoweewadde, it is work in progress. Nze njagala okulowooza mu nkola ey'ekiyivu documentation yandibadde nnungi nnyo kubanga ate how do we review literature era work eneeba etya mu progress nga tetuweerebbwa mukisa bintu bino kugenda ku documentation, audio documentation, video documentation, graphic documentation and written documentation. Kubanga nze ng'omuyizi w'ebyemboozi era ow'ennimi ndowooleza ddala nga documentation ejja kukola omulamwa mukulu nnyo mu literature review. Bw'oba oyagala nange nzije noonyereze ku magumba bwe geegatta nga sikutte ku muntu, ntandikira ku literature, ayinza okubeera audio, video, but also written. Sabo bwekyo kye mbadde njagala okwongera, saagala kwongera ku kirala nandikyongeddeko naye in respect of this fellowship and the moderator, let me end here. Thank you very much. Thank you. And again, I say thank you and come again.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for joining in. This session has been recorded. I'll be sharing a link to the YouTube channel where you'll find it. Otherwise, we're here every Monday, 6 to 8 p.m. East African time. We discuss a wide range of topics: philosophy, religion, God, faith, medicine like today and stuff like that. So please join us on any Monday. You're free. The link is the same. The meeting ID doesn't change. Every Monday, 6 to 8 p.m. Thank you, Dr. Sekagya. I don't know if you have any parting shots as we close, but I also personally want to thank you very much for your time.
I'm grateful for this opportunity. I'm also very informed by the comments. I mean, I have been enriched by the comments and the submissions of different people. And please, I look forward to another opportunity like this. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you very much. So thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for joining in.
Papa.
Yes.
Papa. I would like to thank Dr. Yahaya Sekagya. I've heard a lot about you from my father, from the different traditional healers, for the opportunity that you guys have given that this traditional healers thing, so that we can start to get an understanding of it. So I'm really, really grateful, and may God bless you. Thank you so much.
Amen and amen. Thank you. So I'll be sharing a link to YouTube.
Welcome. Thank you.
You'll be sharing with your people who have not been able to attend, or those who missed part of this presentation. Shortly, I'll share a link to YouTube. Thank you very much and have a good night if you're in East Africa.
Moderator, Dr. Yahaya needs to know that we have children of traditional healers who have believed Jesus Christ. So it doesn't hurt if he added Jesus Christ to his spirits.
Oh, okay. By this, somebody wanted to know, Dr. Yahaya, which religion are you in the beginning?
I'm born in a Muslim family, educated in Christian schools, practice African spirituality, and currently I believe I'm spiritual but not religious.
Spiritual but not religious. Okay.
Kati Onancha gw'owulidde muwala wa musamize naawe osobola okukkiriza Yesu. Ng'omulokozi wo.
Sijagendera ku bya Nancha ebibye.
Kale bannange, thank you very much. We cannot go beyond this. Obudde bwaffe.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yahaya. God bless you.
Mubere bulungi. We'll be in touch. Mubere bulungi. Bye bye.